right, it's another episode of Splash Hit Territory. I'm FP Santangelo, former washed-up has-been Giant, current broadcaster, and I'm joined by my frequent contributor, Susan Slusser today. Susan, Happy New Year. I don't know how long you can say that, but Happy New Year.
Yeah, I figure the first full week of January you can get away with it. We're just under the I don't know, I think the maximum right now.
Yeah, my
So
Christmas
Happy New
tree.
Year.
Thank you. My Christmas tree's still up. I'm not taking it down because it looks pretty. I'm about to head to Scottsdale for a couple of reasons, and I want to share it with our viewers and listeners right now. Number one, on Thursday, my Hurricanes, baby, are in the Fiesta Bowl against Ole Miss. So I snagged some tickets to the Fiesta Bowl. I'm going to the Fiesta Bowl. It's all about the U, baby. We're really excited that football's back and the U is back. And then I'm going to stay in Scottsdale, and next week starts Giants Fantasy Camp. And it's literally, I did it last year thinking, oh, it'll be good to get out of town, go to Scottsdale. There's great bars and restaurants there. I'll just have a blast. It turned out to be one of the greatest weeks I had all season long with Giants fans. We got great coaches this year. Jeremy Affelt, Dave Dravecki, JT Snow, Sean Dunston is coming. Hackman Jeffrey Leonard is coming. And a guy with kind of a big hit in Giants history, Travis Ishikawa, Rich Murray. George Contos may or may not be there. He's having the birth of his second child. So we're really excited about 66, 67, 70, I don't know, fans coming down there. We get teams. We have draft day. The coaches secretly bet on games for dinner or maybe $100 when we play. So it gets kind of
I'm sure there's no money involved, FP.
There's Kangaroo Court. We had Kangaroo Court last year, really quick.
Nice. I'm sure people love that.
You have it in baseball. For those of you who don't know, you have a judge. He comes out with a gavel. That's Glenn Kuiper. He's the commissioner of this whole thing. And then the players, you put stuff in a shoebox, and they're fines, and you read the fine, and then the other person has to come up and defend themselves. So it can get weird in the big leagues because there's egos. Like, guy was out too late last night, and guys are like, whoa, and it can cross lines. So I don't think it ever really worked in the big leagues. But in this fantasy camp, the campers don't know what they're doing. So it's so organic and hilarious. We had a father and son last year. The son was about 20. The father was in his mid-40s. The son came up and fined his dad for something crazy. And the dad came up. And so you have to defend yourself. And if you're still found guilty, you defend yourself and plead not guilty, your fine doubles. He came up and his defense was, I've never told you this, but you're not my son. And it was, we all just lost it, and we laughed, and it was just a great time. So I'm really excited about that.
That's crazy. How's that? I know we've got Giants news to get to. Don't worry, everybody. We're going to get there. I promise.
Yeah,
sometimes we got to rein FP in a little bit, but I do have a question.
What is Giants news this winter? This is better.
Well, sort of news. Well, it is news. I'm sorry. I'm not going to joke around about that. That's legit news. Hey, I do have a question. I've never been to a fantasy camp. I've heard about them. I know people that have gone. But how is the talent level at fantasy camps?
Off the field, it's really good. But at the actual fantasy camp, I mean Scottsdale. But at the actual fantasy camp, there's some guys that think they're pros, man. Like, they come in with the bag over their shoulder, the eye black, the glasses. We had a guy last year that just took it super seriously, through 80 miles an hour, was just blowing people away. And then we has a husband and a wife, and the wife has never played baseball, and she's standing up there and she's like, "Oh, this guy's throwing fast." So it's all ages, all levels, families, brothers, sisters, fathers, sons, husband, wives. It's really, really cool, man. And I'll tell you what, I'm not just trying to sell it. It was literally the best week of my 2025 season. If somebody asked me what the best thing that happened to me in 2025, I would say Giants Fantasy Camp. It is awesome.
Well, I mean, we did a pubcast, so I mean, that was pretty good.
That's 1B or maybe 1A.
Okay.
It was a cool bar too. And
I'm reining you in.
The trip to London. I'm sorry. The trip to London with Susan Slusser was number one. That was number two. What also is really cool is we're gaining momentum on this podcast big time, or this show, I should say. We're not supposed to call it a podcast. This show is gaining momentum, and we have some merchandise for you guys that we think is pretty cool. You might be rocking this around the ballpark. Splash Hit Territory merch is coming out. So scan that thing to your left, take a picture of it, click on the thing below. My parents would have trouble with that, by the way. They'd be like, "What do we do?" Check out the mug. The mug is sick. And the backpack is sick. Even though I don't have books, that's really cool. The hoodie's great. The beanie coming up is my favorite. Yeah, if you're traveling and you want to rock the merch, look at the beanie right there. We're all over that.
Look,
And
it's a
then
notebook,
if you can actually
for the reporters.
yes, the Splash Hit Territory notebook for those of you that can write. I can't, so that's going to be fun too. All right, time to get to some Giants news, and there is news, believe it or not. Tyler Mahle, rhymes with rally, officially signed with the Giants. Susan, you were on the Zoom call recently. Was it yesterday or whatever?
Yesterday,
Time
yeah.
doesn't matter. You were on the Zoom call. What do you gather from this signing? I've talked too much. It's your turn. Go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have talked too much, and I have something to say about the merch too, by the way. I have a Foul Territory T-shirt because I've been on the National Foul Territory, which is awesome. I'm sure many of you are regular listeners of the Foul Territory show. I have one of their T-shirts. It is the softest T-shirt I own. The merch is such high quality. I can't wait to get some of this Splash Hit Territory merch and probably give a lot for presents coming up, for birthdays and stuff. So anyway, enough about us and plugging our stuff. But Tyler Mahle was on the call yesterday, and of course the first question's about his health. Right, he had a shoulder issue that cost him 3 months last year with the Rangers. But he said I think he called himself a dummy who tried to make some mechanical adjustments on his own. It wound up, he was trying to get more extension on his fastball, wound up putting a little too much strain on the shoulder. And, coming back from Tommy John is a pretty detailed process. And you haven't pitched, he was in his second year after Tommy John. He had the Tommy John in 2023. Really good rehab, obviously very good, because the first 14 starts he made with the Rangers last year were outstanding. People might remember, he was the talk of the league, the American League, early on, because he was just, I think at those first 14 starts, it was like a 2.14 ERA. He's just blowing guys away, looks fantastic. The stuff is great. So no questions about the stuff. And I had a text exchange with Bruce Bochy, obviously his manager at the time, about it. He said, the guy is such a competitor. He has the shoulder thing, and he comes back. He was just as good in those final two kind of slightly abbreviated starts at the end of the season, but looked just as good. So he's ready to go, and he's trying to add a slurve. He had a curveball that he said was really effective against right-handers, but I think he went away from it. And he mentioned time he threw the curve to Brandon Belt, and he said Belt hit it about 500 miles, which sounds about right. And I think he went away from the curve at that point, but he's going to add something similar back in, mostly to right-handers. So I like this signing, FP. I'm not sure. My first question to Zack Minasian on our call was, is the rotation complete now? And I think the answer is yes. They're doing we're still looking. So it's possible they're still looking. But they've got two guys coming off sort of injury things with Adrian Hauser and Tyler Mahle, the two really only significant additions this offseason. To me, I think they need a little more. These are more, especially at this point in their career and coming off injuries, kind of back end of the rotation guys, in my view. They really need a real major league number 3. Tyler Mahle can be that guy. I am not saying he can't be, but I think they need a little more, and certainly they need more around the field. What are your impressions of Tyler Mahle from what you've seen?
Well, I trust Bruce Bochy first and foremost. And if Bruce Bochy signed off on it, obviously he's good friends with Buster Posey. And if Boch signed off on this, I got to trust people that know more about baseball than I'll ever know. I watched a bunch of video on Mahle yesterday just to refresh my memory. I remember him with the Reds and pitching in Great American Ballpark, which is not really conducive. And he was a big prospect in their organization coming up. His brother plays baseball too. But I watched a lot of video on Mahle yesterday, and what I saw in his arsenal currently is four-seam fastball, cutter, and split. Split's nasty, tumbles, and it comes out of his hand just like the fastball. What I really noticed and what really popped out on me was two things. Number one, command. Like, this guy is a surgeon on the mound, hitting his spots. He can add and subtract from the fastball. His fastball's 92 to 94, but on all the videos I saw, and maybe it was just highlight reels, it's got a lot of jump, and he was throwing it by guys with 2 strikes. So he'll go down in the zone, hit corners with it, and he gets a lot of swing and miss with his fastball. So he's one of those guys, a lot like Matt Cain, that didn't light up the radar gun, but you saw him throw fastballs by guys because the spin rate is such that we used to call it jump and late life. He's got a lot of late life on his fastball. Sounds like he's a competitor. He's been through a lot. He's been through a lot of injuries. So the one thing I'll temper my enthusiasm with about this is health is going to be a huge issue with this guy. I mean, there was years when he had 3 starts. There was years that he missed with Tommy John. He had shoulder issues where it flamed up last year in Texas, where Boch wanted to be conservative with him and get him better. So while I like the acquisition and I like the pitcher and I like the stuff, it's a big question mark for me. And I think it's a gamble for the Giants whether this guy can stay healthy or not.
What about the rotation? Do you think they have enough?
I mean, obviously we want more. I think all Giants fans want more. But I don't know. I mean, the honest answer here on our show is I don't know. I mean, if Hauser turns out to be good and Mahle turns out to be good and Robbie Ray can replicate what he did last year and Landon Root continues to grow like he did last year, he's a fierce competitor. We know what we're going to get from Logan Webb, hopefully. World Baseball Classics got me worried. I love Logan Webb. I'm real close with Logan Webb. I've seen guys go in there. Your body's not ready to pitch playoff games in whatever month it is. What is it, March? We're all competitors, man. If you get to that level, you're a competitor, and you're going to want to compete, and you're going to reach back. In the thing that's difference between March and October is you have all those innings under your belt, but adrenaline takes over in the playoffs. And if you get dinged up, you have all winter to heal. I've seen guys get dinged up in the World Baseball Classic. Tanner Roark with the Nationals is a perfect example. He was one of their better pitchers, a lot like Tyler Mahle. Their stuff is very similar. And he went and pitched in the World Baseball Classic, and he just had the worst season ever for the Nationals after that. And he said he just was all out of sorts. He had been training one way his whole life, and he had to ramp up early, and it just affected him all season long. So I have a lot of concern about Mahle's health. I have a lot of concern about Logan Webb, even though I think it's cool to wear USA on your shirt. And Mark DeRosa is doing a great job of assembling a great team. I just hope that Logan Webb and everybody involved is really smart when it comes to how they approach this thing.
Well, I think the main thing that strikes me with the WBC is that the Giants will be heavily involved. Their medical staff will be heavily involved in talking to Team USA about how Logan Webb prepares. Of course, there will be pitch limits, innings limits, all that kind of thing. You can't account for the adrenaline of those kind of games for a pitcher, especially a competitor like Logan Webb. You know, it's going to be coursing through his veins, the adrenaline. He is going to probably go all out, even if he doesn't mean to. But he's a horse. Like, this is a guy who really, you know, he's solid. He's so prepared. I'm sure he's been really getting himself ready for it. So I feel a little less nervous about Logan than I think a lot of people do. So anyway, but what else do we think that the Giants need to be doing here? Because with Zack Minasian on the call, of course, we asked a lot of questions. Among them, John Shea asked about Tatsuya Imai and his deal with Houston being pretty team friendly. You know, the Giants have signaled, with Greg Johnson especially, saying that they don't want to hand out a lot of big, long contracts because they already have 5 of them. But especially to pitchers, because as we've kind of been alluding to, pitching's a little risky when it comes to injuries. We all know that. Imai's got a 3-year deal with 2 player opt-outs the first 2 years at $54 million, which seems really pretty doable. But the Giants, who knows? Maybe he just preferred Houston. Maybe the Giants were in it. Zack Minasian declined to comment specifically about a player, especially one now with another team and what another team has done. I get that. What I wrote a story in that appeared in today's Chronicle, was online yesterday, talking to a lot of agents, talking to a lot of people about baseball, about the slow winter. And it's not just the Giants. The Giants have been very slow, but so have a lot of people. That 6 of the top 10 free agents are still out there. So a lot of teams are sort of waiting around. But agents told me that the Giants checked in early on a lot of big names, really kind of almost everybody you might think of at the positions the Giants have needs. But that they didn't really hear much follow-up. on those guys, where other teams were sort of constantly checking in and following up and clearly trying to get things done. I think the Giants did their due diligence, as they should, but left it there with certainly a lot of the top guys. I cannot speak to specific guys in general, but that's what a lot of the agents were saying, was that they're just hearing a little bit less from the Giants than they are from maybe some other teams. And you look around the division, and the Dodgers with their roster, they're still adding. The Padres with their roster are still adding. I'm a little concerned that the Giants just aren't adding at this point when they have really defined needs. And it's early. Maybe we need to be patient. Am I being too impatient, FP?
No, I think everybody watching this right now is impatient. The one thing with Imai signing with the Astros is everybody knows that Houston has a huge Japanese population, so that makes sense. Other than that, what I would say, and I do know firsthand, is the Giants have really done a lot of scouting in Asia, and Zach and Buster, they went to Japan this offseason. So they've been looking for players. And when you have those initial reports coming out of 8 years, $190 million, whatever they were, and then all of a sudden a guy signs for what he signed for with the Astros, everybody needs pitching right now. You don't think the Yankees would have jumped on that and paid whatever, or the Mets would have jumped on that and paid whatever, or the Dodgers, of course, would have jumped on that, even though he said he didn't want to play for the Dodgers. He wanted to beat them. There's something there that we don't know. There's boots on the ground watching this guy pitch. There's scouts that have reports. And the fact that there was rumors that he was going to get this huge contract and he signed for this smaller contract, and we're all going, wait, what? The Giants couldn't afford that? There's a reason. I mean, I don't know. He could win 20 games. I've seen videos of him pitch. His stuff looks good. There's a reason why all these other teams didn't jump on this guy and this contract. And I always defer to the guys that are doing this. I get there at 4 o'clock. I talk about baseball on the air for a while. I do a post-game show and I go home. But these guys live it. They're getting up at 7 in the morning. They're doing their due diligence. Bochy and Mahle. I mean, these guys know. We're just fans, and we just want to get excited in the offseason about who they sign. But the fact that he signed for such a small contract compared to the rumors we were hearing, to me, is there's something there that we don't know about.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's really good. I do think that some of the more high-profile teams and bigger budget teams are probably more focused on guys like Framber Valdez, maybe Zach Gallen, guys like that, who are known commodities and might be a little pricier. For me, someone like Gallen, I think, or trading for somebody like Freddie Peralta, the things that we've talked about sort of almost maybe too much on this podcast, on this show, I think I would still consider doing something that if I were the Giants, but they have bigger needs. We've talked a lot about the outfield. We've talked a lot about the offense. These are the areas they really, and of course they had to replace Justin Verlander. They needed more help in the rotation. To me, the rotation was not number one on the must list. The outfield, defense, and the offense sort of combined are that. And I don't know if they're going to go out and get, say, a Cody Bellinger, certainly not a Kyle Tucker, not at the numbers that we've heard from him, which, again, these are just projections, but as much as $400 million, that's not going to happen. But it's possible that Rafael Devers deal, which was a bold stroke of genius, out of nowhere, loved it, still love it. It's possible that was their big deal for the year. And with that kind of expense, and it is certainly a lot, given, it goes through 2033. It's a big commitment. I get that. But to me, and maybe the team feels differently, to date, maybe that's the signaling we're getting. But to me, if you go out and you sign a Willy Adames, and you then a few months later trade for somebody like Rafael Devers, you then keep building around them. I don't think that's a now we're done situation. And no offense to Mahle, no offense to Adrian Hauser. These are good major league players. But I think the Giants need to be looking in the deeper pool. They need to be going and getting some of the top guys. They're an organization that has the resources to do that. And they haven't been to the postseason here since 2021. They're in a tough division. yes, there is we're going to get a little bit more into this. There are other reasons you might not spend, a potential labor stoppage next year. But to me, if you really want to make the playoffs, you've got a new manager who's already going to be under magnifying glass because of his unusual background. You have got to give him a competitive roster. And right now, there are enough holes in this roster where I'm not sure they're there.
Well, I mean, Giants fans are cranky right now. And I think, you understand why. And I can relate. I've been a Giants fan longer than I was a player, a coach in the organization, or a broadcaster. I mean, I grew up a Giants fan, so I get it. When I read the comments or I go on Twitter, I know our comments are generally positive, and the people that watch our show are very intelligent in the comments. And I think Giants fans are some of the smartest fans in all of baseball. They're very East Coasty, and that's a compliment. And they know that the Dodgers are way up here and we're 500. So we're waiting for this big splash, this big sign, something to get us excited. And it just hasn't happened for whatever reason. I'm not behind closed doors. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Buster's going to Greg and saying, hey, we need to sign this guy. And Greg's like, whoa, we can't. We Devers and Adames and Chapman and Webb, and we just can't right now. And all the other guys they signed too. So I understand fans and why they're cranky right now. It's been a very, very quiet off season. And it's hard to sit here and BS fans and tell them these are great signs. And, these guys are awesome. There's risk involved in both of the pitchers they signed. And it hasn't been the big contract or Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker that would get us all excited. It was okay, now if we just play scrappy baseball and Tony Vitello clicks and we got some big names, maybe we can outwork the Dodgers and find a way. But as it stands right now, maybe that can happen. But I just want to say that I understand where Giants fans are coming from right now.
Patience is great. I'm not a particularly patient person, so I understand the fan base. But there is, we got about 5 weeks left before spring training. You can sign guys during spring training. Obviously, Matt Chapman was a spring training sign. Blake Snell was a spring training sign. We might be looking at that kind of spring again, looking at some of the names that are still out there. So I don't think that fans need to get quite as irate about things right now as anything else. I hear a lot of things we kind of mentioned kind of jokingly in passing the purchase of the current theater. Fans talk about the team. Oh, they're more interested in their real estate than in the baseball team. I wrote a story last year about the real estate thing. That is really and pretty much legally very separate from the ballpark operations. They do have a partner in that, a development partner, and it's a 50-50 thing. So, and Major League Baseball watches those things pretty carefully. They do have to keep those things separate. So I don't think I don't think the real estate thing impacts their budget, but the labor strife, yes, you don't have to pay your 40-man payroll during a labor stoppage. That's a huge expense, but you still have many, many other expenses. Like a major league organization is enormous. You've got minor leaguers, you got minor league coaches, you've got facilities, you've got insurance, you've got travel, you have all of your auxiliary staff, which is significant, and all the many other things that businesses have to, depreciation and debts and all of those many, many things, and you have no income coming in. So some teams, I think, are pulling back a little bit this year, belt tightening a little bit in anticipation of that, and not because of their 40-man rosters, because of all of those other things. I think some of that's going on. I also think that the regional sports network essentially collapsed, which has not affected our local NBC Sports Bay Area, which we, both really enjoy watching and respect so much. But I think that rickety sort of model, the RSN model, I think that is contributed to a lot of teams sort of rethinking things. And of course, just the CBA, you don't know what the CBA is going to be coming out of whatever happens next year. Hopefully no labor stoppage. Signs are pointing toward another one, potentially a long one. But a big change in the CBA, if you've made a lot of decisions coming up for a long time and suddenly there's a salary cap, whoops, maybe you should have waited and made a lot of your pricier moves once there's some sort of salary cap. I don't know. Who knows how teams are thinking, but there are all sorts of reasons. But to me, I think when you got a shot, you got to take it. And I think the Giants do have a good nucleus that all you have to do is make the playoffs. How many times have we said this? The Giants' 3 championship teams, they were not the best team in baseball any of those years. They were a team that a couple times basically got hot at the end and then just kept it rolling. That's what you want to do. That is really the key. We've seen that so often in the wild card era. Those are often the best teams. So I don't know. I always think you got to go for it. But a team with this kind of resources, you got to go for it. It's in another division, they are probably the favorites, but not in this one.
Well, I'm the last guy that's qualified to talk about finances. Just check out my bank account. But the one thing I did learn about 4 years ago, talking to somebody high up in DC, is that you really don't make money on a year-to-year basis as a baseball team, as a franchise. Maybe there's a few, the Dodgers being one. But what it is an investment. It's like a stock. You buy the team for this and you sell the team for this. And the value of the ball club goes up. So if you look at most organizations, they're really not making money every year. And when Greg Johnson said, we're just trying to push, I understood that because in all my life in baseball, I never looked at it that way. I thought, oh, you guys are making money. There's a full ballpark every day. But when you talk about all those things you talked about, the expenses and the players' salaries and whatever, on a year-to-year basis, it's not about making money that year. It's about buying the Giants for this, or the Warriors is a great example. Now they're worth $8 billion or something like that, and you bought them for whatever, $100 million. It's an investment over time. So when Greg Johnson and the ownership group decides to sell the Giants someday, they're going to profit big time, and that's why you get in to owning a Major League Sports franchise. And to take it a step further, I was bored the other day on the couch, and I started Googling around, what does an NFL team make per game? I know like a Major League Baseball team makes about $1 million a game, a home game, if they get a good crowd. The Dallas Cowboys were number one. They make $1 billion a year. And it's based on what you said, TV revenue, ticket sales. They have the most luxury suites of any stadium. They got that oil money down there, and they make between $30 and $40 million a home game. And in the NFL, the visiting team gets a percentage of the gate, or it goes into a pool. So a certain percentage of every home team's profit goes into a big pool, and they divide it equally amongst the teams for all their visiting games. The number 2 team on that list was the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're 3-14, but they make $30 million a home game, and their franchise is worth X amount. I don't know the exact numbers. You guys can fact check it. But that was
games,
what's
obviously.
that?
A lot fewer games.
8 games, yes, 8 games, eight or 9 home games, whatever it is. But that was really eye-opening to me. So I don't know about the finances. I don't know what the Giants are willing to spend. I don't know what their books look like. I don't know any of this. I just know that the fans are frustrated because the Dodgers, are arch enemies, are winning World Series left and right, and we're playing 500 baseball. And this isn't a town that I live in right now that's used to 500 baseball. They're used to parades on Market Street. And I think that's what all Giants fans want to get back, and the Giants too want to get back to.
And what's the difference? It's the media package. The Dodgers media rights are, extraordinary. Like they now they have Japan and all of that TV and other broadcast money coming in. It's nobody can compete financially with the Dodgers right now. So it will be very interesting to see what happens in the CBA, because that's driving a lot of the talk of the salary cap, is the way the Dodgers have operated. If I'm the Dodgers, I do the same exact thing. They're not breaking any rules doing what they're doing. They have more money than anybody else, and they're spending it. But the franchise valuations, you're right on. I covered the A's for all those years, and they cry poor. And you go, well, look at your franchise valuation. Even when it was in Oakland, even playing in the Coliseum, the value of the franchise was just skyrocketing from where the Fisher family purchased the team. And you can borrow against that valuation. Like you, I am not a financial expert, but certainly we all know you can borrow against assets. And those are very, very rich assets. So if you're struggling to meet your payroll for whatever reason, your tiny attendance or your poor media rights, you can borrow against that valuation. So haven't covered the A's for all those years. And you know what? They competed many, many years despite having a smaller payroll than most teams. So, maybe that's what the A's are thinking, like, hey, we're more in sort of the Milwaukee range right now. And I love that as a model. Clearly, Milwaukee sort of has been their model, but they have so many more resources. Use them in the franchise valuation. I don't know, man. Let's shift gears.
Do you want to touch on Venezuela? Do you want to touch on what's going on in Venezuela? You wrote a great article.
We're thinking the same way.
Are the Giants players safe in Venezuela? I was going to tweet something and I thought better of it, like don't kill the shortstops. But I thought that it's too political right now. I didn't want to throw that tweet out there. But you checked in with the Giants, and I think the safety of the players, and Luis Matos is down there and some other minor league guys. How's everybody doing?
Well, I actually had a quick little text exchange with Jesus Rodriguez, who I still think is going to be a factor for the Giants this year. The wonderful catcher that the Giants got in the Camilo Doval trade with the Yankees. He's playing winter ball. Matos is playing winter ball. Everyone's fine. The travel is limited right now. Airspace is closed. So I think many players are trying to come back to the U.S. just because there's so much uncertainty. But they're really limited in what they can do. The Giants have an extensive operations in Venezuela. They have numerous scouts. In fact, I would say they're Latin American. I mean, they have as many scouts, I believe, in Venezuela as they have almost anywhere. So and many, many minor leaguers. So they've checked in on everybody. They're telling everybody basically, for initially it was shelter in place. Now I think it's just use practical sort of logic and don't do anything nutty. Caracas has been really the place where there's been a lot of activity. So, if you're in Caracas, be careful. And otherwise, I think everybody's pretty much okay. But FB, you were telling me the other day you played winter ball in Venezuela, as our friend Bruce Bochy did, loved the country. What was your experience in Venezuela like? Because I have enjoyed covering Venezuelan players as much as just basically any other group of guys from any country. They're typically delightful. So that must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, I can speak from experience, and some of my best friends in baseball are from Venezuela. I just had an idea while you were talking. Maybe the Giants should send SEAL Team 6 into Venezuela to get some players for next year. I don't know, just off the top of my head. Come on, Buster. No, I played winter ball in Maracaibo, Venezuela in 1992, and there was a coup attempt while we were all down there. So my team had 3 or 4 American players, and Chavez came on the TV. All the stations were him in his fatigues. He's in his camouflage, and you turn the channel. And in 1992, you turn the channel like that in the hotel rooms. And he was telling everybody, this is your time to be free. Go out in the streets. There was tanks rolling down the streets. We couldn't leave our hotel. In Caracas, somebody stole an F-16, which I don't know how you hotwire those, but they stole the F-16 and they bombed the runway in Caracas. So a lot of the American players were freaking out. We couldn't get out of Venezuela. They canceled all the games. We stayed in the hotel. And, my wife at the time was there with me, and we were scared. It was legit. In Caracas to Maracaibo is like, I don't know, Los Angeles to here. If I'm to San Francisco, if my geography's right, I'm not sure. But we weren't necessarily scared for our safety. It was just a time of unrest and a coup attempt, and they tried to take over the government. So we just decided we can be 2 things. We can sit here and be scared all day and sit in our rooms, or we can go by the pool in our hotel and drink all day. So that's what we did. We just laid out in the sun and had drinks. And finally, it got to the point where we didn't feel safe playing. And I'm not sure, because it was so long ago. I want to say I faked an injury to get back home, to get out of there, because my wife at the time and I didn't feel safe. But I have so many fond memories of Maracaibo. My teammates, the people in Venezuela are just amazing. Venezuela, it means little Venice. So there's like a huge Italian ancestry there. So some of the best Italian food I ever had was in Maracaibo, Venezuela. And the teammates would invite me over to dinner, and I'd sit there with their families, and the food was amazing, and the people are amazing. So Venezuela is near and dear to my heart. While I joke about it, whatever, my experience there in Winnable, minus Tanks and Chavez on TV, was just incredible. Wonderful people, some of my favorite teammates ever, and I just hope everybody's okay down there.
Yeah, I had a few readers ask why this was even a story, like the baseball players aren't being targeted, obviously. Well, you kind of just hit the nail on the head. In any time of uncertainty, it's scary. So that alone for the Giants makes things nerve-wracking. You got a lot of people there. It's not just, two guys on the 40-man roster. Jose Buto is also from Venezuela. He lives in Florida in the offseason, so I don't want to leave him out. But there's the uncertainty, so that's nerve-wracking. But also there's the baseball industry there, and they're currently starting their playoffs, but travel is essentially impossible. Nobody's got baseball in their minds. They really shouldn't. This is an international event, and we're not going to talk anything about any of the politics involved here, but just for the normal people, it's scary. I talked to our friend Carlos Ramirez from NBC Sports Bay Area. He's from Venezuela. His parents are there. His former in-laws, who he's close to, are there. His former brother-in-law is there. And they were affected. They live in Caracas. They lost power. They didn't have internet, which actually gets even more scary because you got people here going, how are you doing? And they can't reach you. It's a tough time. So they can hear the bombing. I think if somebody was bombing San Francisco or Sacramento, I'd be freaking out. And wondering why are we even playing baseball right now? What's happening? So I hope people have at least a little bit of empathy for what the country is going through, whatever you think of the actions there. And remember, these are all people. This is their country. My heart goes out to everybody there that's affected in any way.
Well said, Susan Slusser. Outstanding. Do you want to touch on Korea, or do you want to wrap it up? It's your call.
Oh, yeah. So that was fun because you talked a little bit about the Giants and sort of their push to do more in Asia, and they have been all along. The previous front office was in Asia frequently. This is not unusual for any big league team. But look, the Dodgers now pretty much own Japan, including culturally, right? Of course they do. I think Giants would like to be certainly one of the most prominent teams in South Korea. I think they already are. Jung-Hoo Lee is a legit superstar in South Korea. I think the Giants would like to take that and use that to become, have more of a presence both culturally. They've been doing a lot of cultural events. Willie Adames is there too. What a great ambassador for the Giants. Tony Vitello is there. Great ambassador for the Giants. Buster Posey there, legend. They've been meeting with people from the KBO. They've been going out and going to restaurants. They're doing all sorts of fun stuff, and they're holding a clinic for high school baseball players. It's sort of just a love fest, really, with South Korea, and I am here for it. I think there is going to be good things that come out of it, not just potentially signing some top Korean talent if the Giants become the destination to go to, but also media rights and things like that, the practical things that teams need to consider. There's no downside to it. Plus, fun. Zack Minasian was telling us all the stuff that they're doing, and like, wow, I feel like maybe they needed a reporter or two to go, find out what was happening over there too.
I saw a funny tweet last night on X, or whatever the hell you call it now. And it said, what is Buster Posey doing in Korea? He should be outside Kyle Tucker's window with an 80s boo box raised over his head, playing In Your Eyes from the movie Say Anything. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I think it's cool that those guys have taken time out to go there and just have a good time. Things are about to get serious. I mean, we're right around the corner from you and I being in Scottsdale for a while. Spring training's around the corner. I'm going to Scottsdale on Thursday for fun and fantasy camp. But in the meantime, we are trying to get followers. Follow us on Instagram @SplashHitTerritory, on Twitter @SplashHitTerritory. Go to YouTube, Search us. We love you guys. Like I say on the way out every single time, swing hard in case you hit it.